I moved house recently and I didn't have internet for 2 weeks, so I did what any self-respecting tech head born in the late 90s would do and download all my music to my phone. But which phone, you may ask? Good question. My trusty Sony Xperia. I ended up using it as my main phone for about 16 days all told, and I have a few things to say about this, and that certainly applies to the more recent Sony Xperias as well. So let me share with you my experience of using a Sony Xperia in 2025. The first thing you really notice with this phone is that it wears its 6.5-inch screen tall instead of wide. Like, yeah, reaching up into the corners is an absolute nightmare unless you have ginormous hands, but to hold it and to generally scroll with it, it's a really nice experience, and it doesn't feel huge because it isn't wide. I did start to quite like the long form factor, and that's not something I was really expecting going into it. By the way guys, really trying to hit 150k by the end of the year, so if you wouldn't mind subscribing, that would mean a lot to me. Thank you. I think a lot of the improved ergonomics come down to the shape of it as well as the general form factor. So a lot of phones have harsh flat sides these days. Probably the worst offender is actually the Galaxy S25 series, and I mean the harsh edges on those things are just incredibly uncomfortable if you ask me. But Sony has a chamfer all the way around the edges, which really helps the phone feel nice and comfortable. No, I'm not giving into flat sides by the way by saying this, still prefer the curved sides, but compared to most phones on the market these days, this is a really refreshing change of pace. And actually, that's not all when it comes to the physicality of the Sony Xperias. I really enjoyed the camera bump being pretty minimal compared to the huge one on my OnePlus, and I'm actually not that fussed about camera bumps in general, but I really appreciate the minimalism here. And speaking of, the thin top and bottom bezels with zero screen interruption is something I really appreciated and didn't realise I missed until I spent longer with something like the OnePlus 12 after coming off of this thing. It's not something I'm willing to change my phone for, it's not that big a deal, but I did notice that it sort of felt a little bit more premium. There's no punch hole, there's no notch, there's no cutout, and I feel like that just made the display feel bigger and more useful. It doesn't date it or make it less premium, if anything, it kind of makes it feel more so. And oh my word, having the notification LED, why is that not a thing these days? Like, why can't you just use one of the millions of pixels on your OLED display and then, to avoid burning, just shift it around the whole screen? Why can't we have a notification LED? It just makes so much sense. And I really miss it. I spoke about it when moving away from the Galaxy S5, I believe, back in the day, or the S7 Edge. Come on, notification LEDs. And the SIM tool and the SD card slot is toolless. Genius. I mean, that makes so much sense given I'm using the micro SD card slot to move my music around. And if I want to move it across my PC, it's a lot quicker using the micro SD card than it is anything else. Maybe my biggest issue with this is you're far worse off with someone stealing your SIM card, which is definitely more doable with this than something that requires a tool, but that's by the by for me. I'm not gonna lie, having that micro SD card slot on my phone was really neither here nor there for me, because though transferring my music library was easy enough, I can do that over a USB cable, and USB is pretty quick these days. Also, there are a few reasons why I might want an SD card slot in my phone, and the main one of those is transferring videos and photos that I take. Like if I had a slot in my OnePlus 12, I'd be using that thing all the time. So why is it not a big deal for me on the Xperia? Well, much like the last time I tried this phone out, the camera situation is just a bit rubbish, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's incohesive and it's generally just not a very good user experience. It baffles me that a company that makes some of the best, if not the best, smartphone camera sensors, and simultaneously the best mirrorless and cinema cameras, can come out with a smartphone camera that just isn't very good. What might be weirder is that whilst the cameras on the brand new Xperia are slightly improved than this, they aren't leagues ahead, and some of them are the same. Like, I'm not sure who the person is responsible for this experience, but maybe they should just rethink a few things. Now, I understand that for some people, having insane quality smartphone cameras is just really not at the top of their priority list. And yes, you can click the 2-stage shutter button and you have a really decent, viewable, I guess, in focus photo. So it's not like shooting on a potato where it's just completely useless, at least in daylight, because the denoising is horrific. And I know when I checked this phone out last year, I said the fingerprint scanner was quite reliable. It's not. I've used it far longer now, and I can say that was wrong. Honestly, it's a real pain in the butt. You know, capacitive side-mounted fingerprint scanners are really good. This one is just not very good. And if when you registered your fingerprint the first time, your thumb is either slightly less or slightly more greasy with the natural oils we have on our hands than when you actually registered it, it's just not going to work. It's just crazy. I'm not sure if they fix this in the newer Xperias, but yeah, be careful of that. By the way, I know there's been some noise around the battery life and performance of this phone. It has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 in it, which is generally just not a very loved chip. Honestly, battery life has been better than I expected. Like, honestly, I guess I'm not hammering the thing all the time. Actually, at one point I was using this as a glorified mobile Wi-Fi hotspot for the 5G, and it did remarkably well on a charge for that duty. It's a 5,000 mAh battery. It's not huge these days, but it did all right for me. And honestly, the charging is slow, but I just top up my phone overnight anyway, so it's not a massive deal. It's not perfect, I'm not going to make excuses for it, but the updated chips in the newer models of the Xperia 1 are substantially better. So if you do want better battery life and performance, don't go for a 1.4, go for something else. I think there are quite a few compromises you have to make by going with this phone. And by the way, if I haven't mentioned, it is the Xperia 1 Mark IV. I have been able to live with many of those compromises, and if I didn't have a wonderful OnePlus 12 to go back to, I might have carried on with this. The cameras are probably the biggest disappointment for me, and I've seen so many anoraks online going, oh well, if you were half decent with a camera, then you would just get more out of it. And it's like, yeah, but like if your smartphone cameras are even remotely good, I shouldn't need to take the image into Lightroom before I export a final photo. Like, that's just ridiculous. If I wanted to do that, I'd pick up my Sony A7S or something like that. Surprisingly, annoying update prompts aside, the software was actually a standout for me. I really liked how stripped back and lightweight it was. It's refreshing, and that's something I wasn't expecting coming into this. I know I've used this phone before, but it never really dawned on me just how lightweight and unobtrusive the software is. They also aren't the cheapest on the used market. This 3-year-old model is still around the £300 mark. It's not terrible, especially for the hardware you're getting, but it's not a slam dunk deal either in my opinion. The Sony Xperia in 2025 is a unique one because it retains functionality like the headphone port and the microSD card slot, whilst giving you clean software, a unique form factor, an excellent display. If they sorted the cameras and the long-term software support on this thing, they might have convinced me to hand over my OnePlus.